Okay, this video is going to take you through the use of accumulating variables in Java, and this is an important thing because we're going to be using accumulating variables quite a bit, especially in the next chapter when we deal with loops. And so this is very important to begin to understand how to strategically use an accumulating variable. And so as we look at this program, just to get the idea of what this program does, you'll see that we have total points, you have game points. We're asking the user to enter the number of points in a game. Of course, this reads it and stores it in here, and then the total points are added, or the game points are added to the total points. And so we do this for 3 games. So 1, 2, 3 games are used, and then so throughout this, then by the end we're going to have total points. We're going to be able to display what the total points were of all the 3 games, and that's really just the idea of this program. So the question is this: if you just step out of Java and just think, hey, remember, and this is very important to do anyways, when we bring up words that we use within Java, remember they mean the same thing as they do outside of Java. So accumulating, do you know what it means to accumulate? If you know what it means to accumulate, you should be able to tell me which of these variables is going to be the accumulating variable. So you have 2 variables here. Which one is actually accumulating throughout the program? And hopefully you see that it's total points that is accumulating points throughout the program. It is much like a score clock or a scoreboard. A scoreboard has the score for the home team and for the visiting team, and each of these can represent a variable. And so it starts out, let's say you're at a basketball game, and so the home team gets 2 points, and then let's say the visiting team gets a 3-pointer, so now it's 3-2, and then the visiting team scores again, and now they have 5, and then later on they score 2 more, they have 7. So it's accumulating more and more points throughout the game. And so the scoreboard is a good example of accumulating variables. And so the idea here that we want to show is how to use it. How to use it in accumulating variable. Because again, it's something that will be used often. So what happens is, first of all, if we trace this code, kind of like for the compiler, these 2 lines of code, of course, set up your memory locations up here, and one of the declarations actually assigns the total points to be 0. So by the way, if we did not set this equal to 0, the question I asked the class is, at what point would the compiler yell at me? At what line would cause a problem for the compiler? So if you want to pause the video and see if you can figure it out yourself, that'd be great. What happens is, if you'll notice, we ask the user for points scored in the game, and then this stores it in here, and then it says total points is equal to total points plus game points. Now, if total points has not been assigned to 0, if we say, let's say we say that's not there, and there's nothing there, this is a variable call. And if there's nothing in there, it's called a garbage value, then the compiler cannot do that. It can't respond to that. So it will give an error that this variable may not have been initialized or assigned. And that's exactly the case. So that's why you might, in the future, what might happen is you might accidentally not put the 0 in here. And so then you get that error, and that's what it means. You have to understand that's what it's saying when it may not have been initialized. And so what you do is just set it equal to 0, and then the compiler's fine. So anyways, let's go ahead and get our, there we go. Alright, so as the compiler then, we enter the points scored in the game. Let's say the user types 30, and so this reads the 30, and then this stores the 30 in game points, and so now the game points is 30. Now right here, this is the look or the template for an accumulating variable. This is supposed to be an A. An accumulating variable. This is how it works. You say that what you're going to assign to the accumulating variable is its current value. The current value of total points is 0. And the reason we do that is because now we're going to add to it. We're going to accumulate more. And so we're going to add to that the current value. We're going to add 30 to it in this case, because that's the current value of game points. And so now total points becomes 30. So now it's just accumulated this first batch of points. Then we go on here and it says enter points for another game. So let's say it's 20. And so this part reads it, this part stores it, and so now game points becomes 20. And remember, a variable can only hold one value, so this 20 replaces the 30. And so now here's the variable, the accumulating variable being showing how it's accumulating more. And so again, the accumulating variable is set to equal the current value, its current value, which if you look up here now, it's 30. So it's changing throughout the program. So before it was 30, now it's 30. Before it was 0, now it's 30. Game points has been changed to 20. Alright, so now 20 plus 30, now the total points becomes 50. So I think you get the idea here. If we were then to continue on, let's say that we have one more game, and it adds and it becomes, adds something else, and then the total points changes. Now unfortunately I just dropped all my points here. So I think we had 30, and then we had 20, and then let's say that we did a 10, and so that would make this end up being, this would be 30, and then it changed to 50 as it accumulated more, and then it accumulates 10 more, now it becomes 60. And so now at the end, system.out.println total points, this variable call total points calls this variable, and it produces the 60. It returns the 60. So here's the key points about this whole thing. This is the way to code. For the most part, this is generally what's going to happen to code of an accumulating variable, and to code it so it increases by more and more and more. The other thing is to notice is that we don't have to make a variable for game points for the game 1, and then another variable for game points for 2, and another one for game 3. We don't have to do that. Only do that if it's necessary that you're going to maybe use it later on. But you notice that this one variable, game points, was used for all 3 games, and what it did is it became a temporary holding place for a value. So the first time it was a 30, and it was temporarily stored in there so it could be added to the accumulating variable. And then the next time it now became 20, and that 20 was just a temporary value because it was used to be added again to the accumulating variable, and then 10 was temporarily used so that it could be added to the total points here. So you don't have to have a different variable for each change. Let a variable change within itself and you don't have to create new variables. The same thing with total points. Total points, it just sits there and accumulates more and more. You don't have to have a total point situation for each time something is added to it. Alright, so that's accumulating variable, very important. We'll use this especially in the next chapter as we move on.